Guys, welcome to Black Scout Survival Late Night Live, man. Thanks for tuning in. This is a little bit early for Late Night Live, I know, but we just hit a point in this country that I never thought we would see. 2 National Guardsmen, American soldiers shot in our streets at our own capital. Not deployed overseas somewhere, not in a war zone, not in some bureaucratic third world nonsense, but here in Washington, D.C., the seat of our government, the so-called safest ground in America. And the details come out, and this story gets more infuriating by the freaking minute. Because according to law enforcement sources, the suspected shooter turns out to be an Afghan national who entered the United States under the Special Immigrant Visa Program during the freaking Biden administration's chaotic, disgraceful withdrawal in 2021. Yeah, that withdrawal. The one where Americans are left behind, allies were abandoned, the Taliban was left with billions of dollars of U.S. weapons and military equipment. Freaking guys, Marines were killed at Abbey Gate. And the administration kept patting itself on the back like it had some humanitarian triumph. Marines were killed at Abbey Gate, and still, Milley or no one else has been brought to justice. This is why I'm pissed off, amongst many other things, about the current administration. Because Biden calls this issue, he's gotten soldiers killed at Abbey Gate, or Marines killed at Abbey Gate, and soldiers killed today. But still, this administration currently is not doing anything about it. But Biden rushed tens of thousands of people in this country with incomplete vetting, incomplete biometrics, incomplete identity verification. Hell, he was letting them through the southern border, so what did you expect? And now we have 2 Americans in critical condition because of it. And let me say it plainly, this man right here should have never been in the U.S., period. Now, let's break it down because you may be questioning, like, how did he get here and what do they do? Well, they use something called the SIV, or Special Immigrant Visa Program. This is a program that inspectors generals from both the Pentagon and the DHS admitted was rushed. We know that. Screening was bypassed, background checks incomplete, paperwork was pushed through under pressure. People were flown in without confirmed identities. Congressional hearings confirmed this. This was not an accident. This was a policy failure. The Biden administration opened the door, threw away the filter, and said, you know what, man, get them on the plane, and we'll figure it out later. Well, guess what? Later was today. And American servicemen are bleeding because of it. And while that gets me fired up, is, to no end, but while Biden's flying unvetted freaking terrorists into the country, what is the media doing right now currently? Oh, they're calling the National Guard the Gestapo. Check it out.
What the president is doing through the Secretary of Defense is creating units, official military units, to, quite frankly, watch the American people. And that's the thing that is absolutely abhorrent. It reminds me so much of what happened in Germany in the 1930s. Actually,
You heard that right. CNN put a guess on the air comparing our National Guard, our neighbors, our firefighters, our EMTs, our deployed service members to Nazis. The same National Guard that is now lying in the hospital bed somewhere after being ambushed in the middle of D.C. Where's CNN now? Where's the outrage? Where's the hashtag campaigns? Where is the wall-to-wall coverage? Where's the tears on the morning shows? Man, when George Floyd overdosed, really. But all right, it doesn't fit the narrative. The only thing, they only care about the military when they can use them as props or villains. When they're actually victims, silence. And let me tell you something else. This is why I'm pissed off right now, this current administration. Because while we have a foreign national brought in by Joe Biden, what is ICE doing? They're picking up day laborers at Home Depot. They're grabbing Juan Lopez, the landscaper. They're hauling off a guy mowing lawns and sending money home to feed his family. Listen, I don't give a damn about Carlos trying to put food on his table. He's not a threat to me. You want to impress me, you actually want to protect Americans, go after the people who slipped through the evacuation pipeline. Why were they not the first ones you went after? Go after the ones who were rushed in without vetting. Go after the ones with missing biometrics. Go after ones that were flagged by intelligence agencies, because there were tons. There were some coming through the southern border. All the Chinese military-age males with black backpacks and buzz cuts. How about those guys? How many potential terrorist operative cells do we have in this country right now because of that withdrawal, the open border? Nobody knows. Nobody's going to say. And instead of prioritizing that, we're wasting resources chasing roofers and drywall crews. It's backwards. It's dangerous. And it's why Americans are getting hurt. I'm not saying you don't focus on the landscapers and what have you, but they're putting all their efforts on the lowest risk individuals while ignoring the exact category that produced this suspect. And if you got limited manpower, you prioritize the threat. I've been saying that for months. People misinterpret me when I say this. I'm not saying don't go after the landscapers. I saw some comments the other week when I was talking about this. I'm saying go after the freaking threats. You don't kick down the door of a landscaper while possible extremist actors are moving freely in our population. This is national security triage, and they're treating it like a scraped knee while the patient's bleeding out. But if that wasn't enough insanity, we just had the seditious 6 Democrats telling the military not to obey the president's orders. Think about that. Elected officials encouraging troops to ignore the commander-in-chief. This is textbook destabilization. This is how you fracture a nation as military cohesion. You demonize the troops. You undermine the chain of command. You demoralize the ranks. You open the borders. You bring in unvetted foreign nationals. You weaken internal security. It's not an incompetence. It's a freaking recipe, okay? Now, I'm going to show some clips from Castro Tail talking about this.
Were brazenly attacked in a horrendous act of violence. They were shot. They're in critical condition. As you can see behind me, we have assembled the full force of both the federal and state and local law enforcement agencies to bring bear all of our resources to make sure we find the perpetrators responsible for this heinous act. And make no mistake, they will be brought to justice. Since this is an assault on a federal law enforcement officer, this will be treated at the federal level as an assault on a federal law enforcement officer. The FBI will lead out on that mission with our interagency partners, to include the Department of Homeland Security, Secret Service, ATF, DEA, and we're thankful for the mayor's assistance in this matter, the Metropolitan Police Department and their skills in investigating homicides and gun shootings in this city is exceptional. We will work together collaboratively because this is a matter of national. The reason that this suspect is in custody is because of the bravery of the men and women of the National Guard who responded due to their extensive training to secure American lives today. There was not any further injury and any further shootings. We should highlight the fact that the men and women of law enforcement, the interagency, the Department of War, and the National Guard executed their training with great precision today and prevented an even greater tragedy from befalling us. These National Guardsmen are heroes, and we must pray for their safety and their speedy recovery. And as the chief said, we are in the preliminary stages of this investigation. We will run down every single lead, every piece of evidence. This is the power of the U.S. government at its best at the state, local, and federal level. That is why this interagency group is standing behind us to assure America and the world that we.
So the FBI is investigating this as possible act of terrorism. Now, let me explain something to you. The FBI doesn't just use that phrasing casually. They could have said isolated shooting. They could have said random violence. They could have said no indication of terrorism. They didn't. They opened the terrorism door publicly, which means internally, they're already looking at ideology, communications, travel history, and contacts. And we have knowledge of this. It turns out, if it turns out to be terrorism, this was motivated by ideology, a revenge against U.S. forces, then the Biden withdrawal will go down as the single biggest national security failure since 9/11. Because the administration didn't just arm the Taliban overseas, they imported the threat here. Okay. Now, Pete Hegseth spoke about this today. He was questioned about it.
Very productive meetings, but I want to start by saying after those meetings, myself and my team were notified that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot in Washington, D.C., critically wounded. The shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act targeting the best of America, heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met because they love their country and their capital and their community. They were willing to do dangerous things others were not because they love their fellow Americans. Someone decided to turn that into targeting National Guardsmen. That will only stiffen our resolve. We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand. And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful.
So you heard him, 500 more coming. You know, the thing is, and you can hear from Pete Hegseth, like him actually, you know, serving, and he has a love for the military. You can tell that. You can sense that there. I'm also about to throw up a clip here of the detainment of the suspect. So report shows that, you know, he was a 29-year-old male, and he used a pistol to do this. Now, obviously, it could have been worse. They acted quickly to subdue him. But let me just tell you, when we look at historical references, is that, you know, does anybody remember that when Europe opened the floodgates, you're talking about Germany, France, Sweden, the UK? What happened? Refugee-linked terror attacks, knife attacks, vehicle attacks, coordinated sales, women assaulted in the streets, weapons trafficking, police targeted, everybody acted shocked. Oh, we had no idea. No, you did. You ignored the warnings, and now America's walking the same path, right? We've had an open border. We had a rushed refugee intake, incomplete vetting, cartel pipelines, foreign nationals disappearing into the population. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of this stuff is being underreported, these attacks and so on. You have whole cities being overtaken, right? And now, to top it off, we have U.S. service members in the Capitol. If you can't see where this is heading, you're blind. And this was, trust me, a coordinated effort across all Western countries. This has been coordinated across all the Western countries. The same exact recipe has happened in all those countries I just named. How many of you guys have just scrolled the internet and seen like tourists going to France and see what happens? Don't be a woman and go to any of these countries. Okay, it's terrible. It's terrible. And if you say something about it, you get put in jail. I just saw the other day a guy posted a meme and got put in jail over there in Britain. Now, Could this even be something else? Could this be used politically? Could this be leveraged as a distraction, a narrative weapon, a justification for new powers? I don't put anything past it at all, right? We don't know. I'm not trying to jump to conclusions, but history shows us that when government screws up this badly, they don't admit it. They redirect, manipulate, blame somebody else, and they expand control. So we have to keep our eyes open. And the thing is Kash Patel has defended the Biden admin FBI. He defended them on for J6 just recently, okay? He has taken a freaking hard left turn since he got in this position, because previous to that, on podcasts and so on, this man would say he's dismantling the day one. But what happened? You know, he was going to shut down the Hoover building day one and make it a museum for the deep state, is what he said, verbatim. There's been no cleaning out of the FBI. It's the same guys there, the same deep state operatives that are still there. So you think there's going to be an accountability? Is Milley going to be accountable? No. But let me pause right there for a minute, because tomorrow's Thanksgiving, guys. And while we're watching this insanity unfold, I do want to say, something to you guys, to everyone watching this channel, supporting this mission, showing up every night. Thank you. Really, really. I don't take you for granted at all. This community has carried me through ups and downs, and it's been fantastic, and I'm sure many of you are, you see me, I try to comment in as many people as possible. Man, I'm not an influencer, not a content creator. I'm just a guy that that does this. I own a tactical survival brand, and I just so happen to make videos. Okay, I don't consider myself any of those things, but I know many of you could be going through your own battles. Some of you maybe have empty seats at the table tomorrow. Maybe some of you are deployed. Maybe some of you are working duty. Some of you are serving this nation and can't go home. So after this, it breaks my heart about these guys. To our military, law enforcement, firefighters, our first responders, thank you guys as well. Thank you to all the blue collar Americans that have to work tomorrow and make America run, right? You guys are the backbone of this country. And, tonight, I just want to say that we need to be praying for these two guardsmen, their families, pray for healing, pray for the doctors and surgeons working on them to guide their hands and, give their families peace, give them strength, give these service members strength. And we pray that God shields those who stand in the gap. Because while the politicians, right and left, they play games, it's you or I that has to pay the price, okay? Now, let's look at the pattern, okay? Withdrawal, disaster, unvetted entry, media demonization, political subversion, attack on troops, terrorism investigation, right? It's not random. This is a nation being weakened from within. This is how you defeat America, the strongest country in the world. How do you defeat it? You defeat it from within, okay? Our soldiers should not have fear of being ambushed in the capital of the nation they swore to defend. Man, I took the video the other day, but I forgot it. I don't think I have it anymore, but I was wanting to find this guy. He walks up to two female National Guardsmen, young girls. I couldn't see the rank. One was a black girl, one was a Latin girl. And they're, dude, they're there by orders, man. Right? That's their job. Okay. If you ain't been in the military, like some of these crying liberals, they don't know. You got to follow orders. Okay. And they were up there at the Capitol doing their patrolling. And he's up there with a phone, talking shit to him. And I mean, I would love to have been there. I would have loved to have been there. Really. I would have put in some work. This old man would have put in some work, right? They should not be treated like villains by the media, by these losers. You're right, and they shouldn't be sacrificed for political incompetence. Whether this was terrorism, lone violence, or something more sinister, the fact remains, guys, he should have never been here. Period. Anyway. That's why I always say stay frosty, Stratton, and dangerous, man. And Tomorrow, be grateful for the people sitting at the table with you and the ones who wish they could be, okay? Guys, remember to stay frosty, stay strapped, stay dangerous. Black Scout, out.